Good.
Is that fixed? Oh, you're gone. Please fix. Stress pad.
You want to take a look at the question?
He's not going to be on.
He said okay, he's going to do it on the stage and then turn it over.
He's going to have to stand in front of that camera.
Huh?
He's going to stand in front of that camera. You got to stand in front of that camera.
In front of that camera? I don't have to be in the camera.
It won't be on camera.
That's
We're
all
live
right.
now.
We're live now?
We're live right now.
Okay, send me a link.
We're a hot mic. Don't say anything dumb.
Yeah.
Is it the CHR Facebook? No?
Not even trying to program your stuff.
Oh. So what Facebook?
Did this just turn? Oh, there we go. It has to be really close, huh? Can we have your attention? All right, everybody, come on in. Come on in. All right, thank you guys for coming tonight. Sorry for the egregious delay we got going on today. Just everything went wrong. But we're up and running, so if I can have all the candidates come on up, grab a seat. Oh, thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. So my name is Raymond Garcia. I'm the chairman of the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. We're putting on this forum tonight for the Colorado GOP chair that's coming up. The election's going to be on the 30th. I thank you guys for coming. I hope you had a good meal. Did everybody like the meal? Worked my butt off for that. I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning, so I'm tired. All right, we would like to start it off with a prayer. Reverend Eva Baca Current is going to be giving the prayer. Go ahead. If I could have you all stand, please.
Lord, we come before you today as servants of the great state of Colorado and the United States of America. We come before you, Lord, and ask you to hear the anguished cry of the rocks and of your children who reside in this state. Lord, hear the cries of injustice from your remnant people, those who toil against political taskmasters that have us making bricks without straw. Lord, we come before you today not to ask of you, but to give back to you. We give back our lives, our service, and our legacy, that we may once again be called one nation and one state under God. We give back to you of our time, energy, and finances so that our children will once again be safe to call this place home both inside and outside of the womb. We come together with one purpose, and that is to serve God and serve our nation. Lord, we come before you with the same heart, the same desires, but with different methods and different understandings of how we could effectively honor your desire for this land. Lord, let us understand that you have given each of us different assignments for the glory of your cause. But Lord, we know that taking back the land is much too much for us alone. We cry out as Moses cried out, Lord, we will not go. We will not pass unless you go with us. Almighty God, arise and let your enemies be scattered. Not our enemies, but yours, dear Lord. Lord, give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to know the difference between our enemies and our brothers and sisters with a separate assignment. Lord, we come before you to give back to you, and we pledge to you to obey and to follow your guidance if only you will lead us. Lord, we ask that you would arise in the midst of this meeting. We ask that when we look upon each other, we would see your face reflected from one degree of glory to the next. Lord, let us see each other reflected as in a mirror. Lord, we invite you into this meeting, that we would walk and work together in the counsel and the might and the fear of the Lord. Lord, your word says that you came not only to bring peace, but a sword, that the warriors of God would stand in your shadow and unite in one accord. Lord, we pray that tonight everyone would realize that your Holy Spirit is within us, and it is greater than what the world would use to tear us apart. Lord, we pray that you would bring unity where there is discord. And Lord, we pray that you will give us great favor in the coming months, that as we once again become one nation, one state, and one people under God, Lord, let the hidden things be revealed and let your perfect will be done in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Thank you, John. If you could all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, guys. All right, so let's introduce everybody tonight. Sorry. Oh, thank you. As you know, I am Raymond Garcia. I'm the chairman of the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. Tonight we are going to have Reverend Eva Baca Current as our sergeant at arms, and she brought her chanclas. So you better be careful. For the rules for tonight, so we'd appreciate it if you hold applause till the very end of the night so we can get through this. We're already running late. We apologize for that. Moderators for tonight are Hugo Chavez Ray, who is the co-host of the Hispanic Patriot podcast, and the one and only Adam Dorito, who is on the board of Colorado Hispanic Republicans, and he is the host of Tuxedos and Tomahawks, which is what's live streaming this tonight. So without further ado, Hugo, Adam, take it.
Well, sorry for the delay, everybody, but we got it working this time, and I'm really excited. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's debate for the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. My name is Adam Dorito, and this is my co-host, Hugo Chavez Ray, and we will serve as your moderators this evening. Thank you to our candidates, our audience here tonight, and everyone joining us online for taking part in this important conversation about the future leadership and direction of our party. Tonight's debate is going to be an opportunity for Republican voters, party activists, grassroots leaders to hear directly from the candidates seeking to lead our GOP through the challenges and opportunities ahead. We expect a respectful, substantive discussion focused on ideas, leadership, organization, fundraising, candidate support, election integrity, and party unity. So here are the rules for tonight. Each candidate will begin with an opening statement up to 1 minute. Candidates will then answer a series of moderated questions with each candidate given a time for a response. Time limits will be enforced equally for all participants. Rebuttal opportunities may be provided at the moderator's discretion, and we ask the audience to remain respectful and hold applause until the designated time so we can keep the discussion moving fairly and efficiently. So our goal tonight is to provide a fair and informative forum that helps our Republicans across the state of Colorado make an informed decision about the party leadership of our state party. With that, let us begin. Candidates, once again, thank you so much for being here, and we'll start with our opening statements, beginning with Mr. Joe Oltman, starting from the left. It's up to Hugo's discretion, apparently.
1 minute.
That's enough time to get my name out, bro. My name is Joe Oltman. Just to give you a quick 58-second statement about me. I'm a business guy. I've been in Colorado for 30 years, married 24 years, have 2 beautiful kids. I've been involved in politics since 2020. Before that, most of the time the party just asked me for my money and a little bit of advice, but I decided to get involved because I believe that the party needs to rebuild it from the ground up, and we need some serious direction. We need some serious leadership. So you can go to Oltman 2026. I do have a 3-month plan there. I built out a 6-month plan and a 12-month plan, and there's 2 things I'm going to concentrate on right away. One is making sure the infrastructure of the organization is put back to where it's has a bearing, and then make sure we raise a bunch of money so we can win big in November.
Well, thank you, everyone. My name's Jennifer Qualteri, and I will not tell you very much about myself other than I have experience in marketing, accounting, entrepreneurship, and sales. But what this is all about is not me. It's about you and what our party has to do at this very critical moment. So for too long, the Colorado GOP has been distracted, probably purposely, by the Democrats. With this division, we have left our party in debt and disconnected from our voters, and we need to stop the perceived infighting, which I think is very easy to do because we all are friends and on the same team. And why? Because Colorado families are hurting, and they are experiencing high debt. Their children are receiving I had a hard time saying this last time. Forget it. Ideology instead of excellence, and our energy is out of control. And thank you.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Goodall, and I'm asking for your vote because while the other chair candidates are all mostly talk, promising the moon, I've been here working hard, creating solutions for candidates, voters, and listening to the party. I don't have to be told about the issues our party is facing because I've been front and center facing these issues, these controversies, the arguments and fights with you all every step of the way. I've served the party, not myself, and I'm the only chair candidate that has been vetted and endorsed by President Trump's campaign as a national delegate. I've been here working with you here in Colorado as the chair of the 5th Congressional District, as a bonus member, as a precinct leader. I've served state, house, state, senate, and county commissioner districts. I'm not just talk. You've all seen my actions for the last 20 years. So I'm Jeremy Goodall, and I'm calling for vision over vendetta, and tonight I'm asking for your vote.
Good evening. My name is Craig Steiner, and I want to get the party focused again on get out the vote. That's our job. My experience with that includes a term as Douglas County Chairman, as well as 2 terms as Douglas County Secretary and leading volunteers in the get out the vote efforts. In addition to that, I've actually developed a system that helps get out the vote. It's called Voter Spectrum. It's being used in multiple counties. It's been used by many candidates. It's also used by the Maricopa County GOP in Arizona to good effect. And I would bring that to the state party if elected. We need to focus on that. That is our main job. And that needs to start right away. We only have 5 months from the time a chair is elected until the election. So we need to be on the ground right now. Douglas County is already working with targeting unaffiliated voters. We need to start that right away. So my name is Craig Steiner, and I would ask for your vote as well. Is that a microphone?
Yep. Just hold it up to your mouth.
Hi, my name is Curtis McCracken, and I have been in Colorado for the last 24 years. I've been married for 29 years to my wife, Laura. We have 2 grown children, and I have spent most of my life running small businesses, general contracting, most of that. I also have a small real estate brokerage in Cedar Edge, Colorado. I believe that we are, as a party, in something I call damage control mode, and I think one of the first things that we have got to do is we've got to clean up our financial picture, and I think we have to do that in a way that reestablishes integrity And I think if we do that and work on changing our narrative, start talking about the things that bring us together instead of the things that divide us, I think that we can not just look credible again, but we can be credible again. My name is Curtis McCracken. Thank you.
All right. We're going to roll into the questions, and we'll be doing it in an staggered fashion.
So no rebuttals on the intros?
No rebuttals on the intro.
Okay.
So we'll be staggering the start. So the first one will go to Joe. Second question will start with Jennifer, and so forth. So the first question that we have, yes,
How much time?
you'll have 1 minute time.
All right.
What is your plan to rebuild active county party organizations in the 10 weakest counties within the first 12 months?
All right, repeat that for one more time.
What is your plan to rebuild active county party organizations in the 10 weakest counties within 12 months?
Yeah, so. My time start yet? All right. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to look at it from a holistic standpoint, not the weakest 10 counties. I think that high tide raises all ships. And so by bringing all 64 counties together, figure out what works, what doesn't work, create a plan based on what they're telling us, and then make sure that I spend the first 90 days in each one of those counties having conversations with both donors and with the organizations themselves to make sure that the organization has all the proper tools that they need. But in order for that to happen, we have to make sure that we have a strong foundation at the state level. So I'll work on making sure that the state level is done by a bunch of volunteers that we already have that have stepped forward, and then go to each one of the counties and make sure that they collectively can come together to make decisions that will help all of them thrive and do better. When you look at it individually from the bottom 10 to the top 54, you tend to put yourself in a position where you're having to pick favorites, and that's a subjective process.
Jennifer?
All right, so I think I would like for this to be run in a centralized manner, even though I'm talking empowerment. If they don't really want to be empowered, I don't want to empower them because we only have 6 months to get this done. It's better just to offer them resources that let them know that they are part of the decision making. However, truth is, I don't want them to make any decisions. I want them to follow the plan because it's a massive get the vote effort out. And without lifting 100,000 to 150,000 votes, we are going to lose. So when you're telling a county, and it would probably be something like Denver County, we need you to lift 25,000 votes, and we can't do it with your PCPs. We've got to get other volunteers. You just kind of have to lay the ground rules and really not give them choices unless they demand them.
I think this is a question of attitude. First of all, 12 months we don't have. And so what we need to do is inculcate a fighting spirit, because the 10 weakest counties, I think, are probably pretty sick and tired of losing. And they're going to have good ideas. They're going to have probably a desire to really push things forward and make the changes that are necessary. I don't believe that the chair necessarily knows any particular county better than the people in that county. And so what we need to do is give people hope and give them an attitude of offensiveness and assertiveness to go after the low-hanging fruit, because those weakest counties, that's where you've got a target-rich environment. And when we get our attitude towards the electorate correct, that's when we start putting in districts into play that the Democrats didn't even know they could lose.
All right. So the very first thing that I would do is send an email as soon as I'm elected to all the county chairs and just ask what their status is, what they need. If they need some help from the state party, that's great. If they've got their ducks in a row, that's great too. We can focus on the ones that don't. But I think right now, the definition of weakest is an open question. They could be weak even if they were pulling sometimes some good results. Maybe they're sliding. So I think we just need to find out from the chairs themselves, the people that are on the ground, do you need help? And we'll find that out very quickly.
I think the question speaks to relationships, and I think we have a lot of relationships to repair within the party, and I think one of the ways we do that is, I'll go back to my opening statement, is we've got to clean up our financial mess, and we have to do that in a very transparent way so people start to begin to trust us again. And I think that's the key to bringing everybody back into kind of the same thinking, and that is we got to rebuild our relationships.
Awesome, fantastic. All right, here's your next question. How will you ensure that rural and urban grassroots efforts receive balanced support and share best practices? Jennifer, this one's going to start with you.
The rural and grassroots areas are least of our problems. They just need support and resources to do what they do best, and that's keep their base. We just need to give them as much money as possible. So a sound fundraising plan, mine is, and I won't share it with you folks other than giving you tidbits because it's more proprietary information in my view. They're just going to have the resources that they need to get the vote out, and that includes things like perhaps Facebooking ads and podcast ads or Google ads, so that we somehow also empower those counties. We can trust if there's ways that we have to actually harvest for those people, because there's people that aren't going to be able to do mail-in ballot, then we do want to make the drive to those areas. Those are the least problem.
So I think that the major difference between the grassroots folks and probably the more, shall we say, establishment kind of wing of the party is, and I think Britta was a tremendous example of this, is the lack of communication. What we need to do is create cross-pollination. We need to get conversations going. We need to get where the rank and file members are actually in communication, one county to another. If we're running it all through the state party, then when the state decides to stonewall everybody, there's no relationship, there's no workarounds, and so there's no survivability. And so what we need to do is get the grassroots folks talking. And the establishment folks as well. Like, if we can get these conversations going, we can share best practices, because what works in Boulder County probably works in Broomfield or Adams County. What works in El Paso County probably is going to help work in Pueblo County.
Well, the good news is those conversations are already happening. There are multiple Zoom calls that the chairs of different counties are already holding on their own, kind of filling in where the state party wasn't doing their job. But to be quite honest, it probably is something it's survivable if it's just among the chairs. So I think we can support that, and maybe we can add one so that there's also an official one. But I certainly wouldn't want to detract from the conversations that are already happening. I've heard a lot of good stories about what's going on. Doesn't seem like it.
I actually would agree with Craig. I think the first thing we ought to do is listen. It's happening. In talking to the chairs, there's signal chats, there's Zoom meetings that are going on. The districts are working together within themselves because we are so dysfunctional. And so I think going into the communities, I think is really, really important. I think the state part, I think you can't run this from an office. You got to get out into the community, and you got to hear the people. So.
Joe.
All right, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So we're just going to make sure that you have stake. Oh, sorry. Am I ready? Okay, done. Okay. Yeah, you have to make sure that everyone is a stakeholder. Everyone gets an opportunity to have a seat at the table, and you take the things that they've been doing over the last couple months in order to make sure that they can smooth out some of the operations and have conversations with each other. I've had conversations with other chairs that are like, hey, Joe, when you wrote out the plan, you gave us some ideas on how we can actually become stakeholders before someone becomes the chair. We don't have to wait for it to happen. So the other part is that when we start talking about rule sections of the state and we start talking about the grassroots and or the establishment, who makes the rules for who's what? So we got to eliminate a lot of those different definitions and start getting to how do we plan and how do we make sure that we stay on mission so that we can accomplish the things that are set out that the people want us in our community. We start listening to the community, we start bringing all the chairs together, and you see a lot of really good things happen. It's not enough time, just so you know. I'm going to complain about it.
Duly noted. All right, we're going to shift a little bit since this is a Hispanic Republican event. We're going to shift to my favorite topic, which is Hispanic voter outreach and strategy and priorities. So most Republican voters and people in leadership roles believe that unaffiliated should be the top priority for the state party in terms of growing the party. However, Hispanics are the fastest growing demographic in the nation and in Colorado represent the largest untapped voting bloc, where over 300,000 eligible Hispanic voters either do not vote or are not registered to vote. As chairman, what would be your top 3 policy priorities that you would emphasize and implement to build relationships, earn trust, and increase Republican support among Colorado's Hispanic communities? You start with Jeremy.
So I believe one of the key aspects of Hispanic culture is that it is culturally conservative. And what we need to do is provide them an understanding and reach out to them and give them the information that Colorado Republicans want them to be a part of us, but also that we are in alignment on almost all the issues except what they've been lied to by the Democrats. The best way, I think, to reach out to them is with the 3 initiatives that Protect Kids Colorado managed to get onto the ballot for November. Protecting girls' sports, protecting parental rights, and ending child sex gender reassignments. These issues are 80-20 issues. They are incredibly popular amongst both the Republicans, unaffiliated, and even Democrats. They are overwhelmingly popular, and in November, those are the vehicle that we're going to use to win Colorado.
Well, the Hispanic community is aligned with us. They value religion, they value families, and they're hard workers, so that they should be our people. So we just need to communicate that better. Certainly, as a state party chairman, I would be able to talk to their communication mediums, Univision and Telemundo. I speak Spanish, and so I would not need to be translated or mistranslated, as the case may be. We also need to be out in the communities, preferably with some people that are able to speak Spanish. I'm not the only Republican that speaks Spanish, so let's make sure we find some that can go out into the community and talk to them about our values.
Yeah, I think this question's a lot like the one before about the rural and urban grassroots. I think you have to go where they are and get into the community. We talked a little bit in the last forum about how to reach young people. Charlie Kirk did that well. He went where they were at, and I think that's what we have to do. I think we have to go where the people we want to connect with are, whether it's going into the high school and picking up young people, or whether it's going into the Hispanic community and just listening and asking them how can we better serve the Hispanic community. So.
Joe?
There's so many different ways to answer that question because there's so many different complicated problems that happen within the Hispanic community depending on which part we're talking about. And so I think there's going to be different needs that need to be addressed at different places, but we have to meet them where they need to be met. So when we talk about them having conservative values, we're not addressing their needs in the community that have been abandoned by the Democrats in the past. And they've been brainwashed into this idea that they have to follow that party, otherwise they'll be left behind, but they've already been left behind. So we have to get in the community, have conversations with them, and let them kind of lead what they need, and then make sure we have enough structures inside of the state that gives them an equal voice. And they're not going to come to the Republican Party if we don't give them that equal voice. So I think it's really important for us to look at the structures that we build initially as we rebuild the Republican Party to make sure that there's a voice for every section of the community, because they've all been left behind. But the Hispanic community specifically, I think we have to talk to the things that have created the deserts in the poorest of communities, but also to the educated part of the Hispanic community that, again, has felt like they've been heard, but it's never resulted in any actionable outcome. Okay, you can turn it off. I was almost done.
Okay, with my experiences with my neighbors, I can tell you that we need to have conversations, and that's going to be the first and second thing. The first one, it needs to be amiable conversations. We need to break this myth that we're going to deport them, and that they're not safe, and that, ICE is bad or whatever. We need to show them a whole different branding, and that this is not us. This is the myth that the Democrats have created for you. The second is a hard conversation. For instance, in my neighborhood, you'll see even the kids, they're cringing, especially the Hispanic kids, when you're talking about transgender ideology. They don't want that. And so we need to give them an avenue to take those kinds of outs. And then the third thing is we just need to start enlisting them. I mean, if there's something like a paid volunteer, they need to be our employees.
All right, here's your next question. We're at a turning point in the Conservative Party, in my opinion. There's a lot of young people that are really excited to get involved in the party. And especially in this last election season, I saw a lot of young kids who are motivated to get out there and go do things. And then they see this group of people in our party that completely destroy them, their reputation, go after them in public. And they decided to go re-register as unaffiliated because they want nothing to do with our party anymore after seeing how we behave. And then it pushes them out, and then we just keep rehashing the same issues over and over again, especially in these lovely signal chat groups. So my question to you, and especially for the Hispanic community, is what are you going to do to ensure that young voters feel safe to volunteer and organize and actually want to participate and feel welcome versus being pushed out to the same old political tactics that we've seen over the last several years?
Well, I definitely think we have to stop the fighting, and I'm hoping at least between now and the election we can do that by just focusing on what we have to do, which is get out the vote. That shouldn't be controversial. There's not a lot of fighting to do. There's a few more weeks of the primary, so there's going to be a little bit more fighting. But after that, we can just focus on getting out the vote. And if someone is being mistreated, especially someone that's new that wants to volunteer, that needs to be escalated. Hopefully, it can be resolved at the county level. But if we're not inspiring our volunteers, then we're going to lose.
I hate to drop this guy's name again, but Charlie Kirk was such a role model for this question, and that is, first of all, he went where young people were, and he loved them. He didn't degrade them. He met them right where they were at. He talked to them about the subjects that they wanted to talk about, and through the whole conversation, he just loved on them. And I think that's what we have to do with young people. That's what young people are gonna respond to. I think being in the high schools, being at their sporting events, I think we have got to have a presence. And yeah, I think that's it.
Joe?
So I spent a lot of time talking to young people, and just to talk about some of these signal chats and some of the things that go on. I've had some pretty hard conversations over the last couple of weeks because people don't know how to get along, and they want to make things personal about a disagreement and then turn it into a character assassination. We've become really good at that. It's kind of a uniparty thing, in that we use the same tools. So young people want to have a seat at the table, but they also want to have a real seat at the table. So we got to eliminate the young Republicans. If you're old enough to run, if you're old enough to die defending your country, you're old enough to run for office and to hold positions of trust and authority. So we've got to redefine what the ROEs are, rules of engagement, and make sure that we honor them. And there should be sticks and carrots. We should let young people actually have a seat at the table, but we should eliminate those people that create real malcontent across the board. And look, this is difficult because who defines that? And I would tell you that we should have young people defining it, which is why over the next couple of years, I want to make sure there's more young people in those positions of trust and authority, and we're passing off that baton.
So when I see what is it that young people want nothing to do with us? It's because of the propaganda. So the communists are actually writing our narrative, and we need to rebrand ourselves and let them know that it's a myth. So this fighting or whatever, ignore it. When you ignore bad behavior, that's a strategy, it goes away. So you ignore that and you create your own story. You have to write your own story. That you are the cool kids. They are not the cool kids, and they're not the cool kids because of whatever. You're not owning a home. Why aren't you owning a home? It's because they all want you to be in their crap shack, 5-story affordable housing that's going to be taken over by whatever. So you have to tell them the real reasons why that propaganda is bad and that we have a different story that's true.
So I don't believe that dysfunction or toxicity has an age limit. If you're old and a toxic person, you're a toxic person. If you're young and a toxic person, you're a toxic person. And that toxicity needs to be dealt with, and it needs to be removed, and it needs to be shown the door. Young people need to be listened to. The affordability of housing is throwing our young people like completely under the bus. Like these kids, and if they don't feel that they have a stake in the system, what possible motivation do they have to help us fix the system? And so we need to make sure that young people understand that we know and trust them. And that's called mentorship. You don't just put them in charge of everything, but you bring them up and you train them how to lead things, and then you give them appropriate leadership to their experience.
Okay. Next question goes to messaging. Will you, as chairman, pledge to recruit and empower Hispanic spokespeople and candidates at the county and legislative levels?
Can you repeat that again? I didn't hear part of it.
How will you, as chairman, pledge to recruit and empower Hispanic spokespeople and candidates at the county and legislative levels?
Absolutely. I think we talked about this in one of the other forums about how we need to be, we need to be bringing new candidates along. We need to be out recruiting because, we've got Democrats who run in some of these races unopposed, and I think we need to go into the communities where that's happening, whether it's a Hispanic community or not, and find people to run in these races and find good candidates to run in these races. And, I think help the Hispanic community understand if they want a broader voice. This is how we do this. You get in and you put your hat in the ring and you become part of the process. I ran for CD3 in 23 and 24 for the same reason. I wanted a seat at the table so I could talk about the issues that were being talked about. And so I think, absolutely, I think recruitment's key.
So the short answer is anybody that does not answer that question, yes, is crazy. But the other part of that is that we have, there's this thing that says hope is a dangerous thing, Shawshank Redemption. And I say this a lot because young people have to feel like they're empowered and feel like they have the ability to serve. And, whether we're talking about the Hispanic or the Black community or any minority community or even the white community, creating some sort of unified spirit that we want to go forward and do what's best for the community will allow more of these young people and more Hispanics to want to be involved in the party. So, yes. I don't have enough time to go any further.
En español, por favor. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, so I absolutely would empower and recruit Hispanic people, especially in my neighborhood. But I have to tell you a harsh reality, having a family that's mixed, right? So my son is half black and half white. Some of our rural communities, they are racists. So I would not want to put someone in an, I moved out of northern Colorado because it disgusted me on what a bunch, I mean, I was dealing with the Klan up there. It was disgusting. I don't want to ruin somebody's outlook because they're in an area where they're not going to succeed. So my goal is to, again, ignore the bad behavior and start to mentor not how different we are, but how much alike we are. And hopefully those rural communities aren't as disturbing as they are. But if you're even an Italian, you don't succeed in some of those rural communities.
Jeremy?
So a short answer, yes. Slightly longer answer. My belief is that our districts and our counties need to be empowered to basically raise up the candidates as from a bottom-up sort of a procedure. And therefore, the candidates will begin to look like their communities. And not just look like, but to also believe like their communities and to have the same principles and values as their communities. Because it's not just enough to have the right skin tone, you gotta have the right principles, values, and platform.
Agreed. I think this comes back to outreach. As we get more people involved from the Hispanic communities and others, there will be more people that want to step up and run for office. I do believe it does mostly come from the county up rather than the state down. The counties know their people a lot better than anyone at a higher level does. So I would say yes, but it's going to mostly have to come from the bottom up, not the top down.
Okay.
You started?
Okay. He did start. So we have a whole new question now.
Can we get a rebuttal on that?
Sure.
All right, so listen, I want to be really careful how we create. How much time do I have for that?
30 seconds.
30, okay. We have to be really careful what kind of tags and what kind of indictments we put on our communities, regardless of whether we have a bad experience. This is one of the things that keeps us out of certain communities, sort of keeps us from serving, keep us from doing things to be able to recruit candidates into the fold. So we got to be forgiving because there's a lot of things that can come across as being either racist or homophobe when in actuality you're just having a conversation. So we just have to have a little bit more grace in the communities, I think.
Okay, thank you.
And I get to 1 minute too? This is great. See how I did that? You're welcome.
Hey, he did request a rebuttal, and he did get it. So you're entitled. Just all you got to do is ask. So the next question is this. There's a lot of demographic shifting in Colorado right now. Greeley is one of the fastest growing cities now. It's being infiltrated by the Democrats. I even went to the redistricting meeting for the county commissioners, and they are staging to infiltrate in order to outwin us in many races. So what specific steps are you guys going to take to improve GOP performance in places like Denver and Greeley and the places that the Democrats are really concentrating on to ensure that we no longer hold these seats anymore?
Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to raise a significant amount of money. So I'm trying to get ahead of the tire treads on this. And everybody says you can't raise money. So I'm having conversations with lots of donors at different levels to make sure that when we hit the ground running in the first 90 days that we have a couple $1 million. From there, we're going to have to raise somewhere between $10 and $15 million. And then we have to make sure that there's no one taking money off the table as we go out there and pitch our case to the people in the community. A lot of the reasons why we have the problems that we have is that we're outspent. They spend a bunch of money in market. They create all these lies. And there's no one there to fill in the gap or to fill in the void of whether or not any of those accusations or indictments are true. So we're going to have to make sure we have a good ground game, and we're going to have to make sure that we're spending money and taking over the airwaves and giving people an opportunity to find a place where they can hear the truth.
All right, so in Denver, we lost that a long time ago. So I'll just tell you that much about it. But this is where we could gain ground by having Hispanic candidates or Latino candidates. I guess there's a difference. Yes, absolutely, that you need to lift the vote out of Denver, and you're not going to win anything probably in Denver, except in maybe our House District 1 or our House District 3, not right now. But look what's going on in LA, right? Denver's so dirty and dangerous that we could flip it with concepts like the mayor in LA. With Greeley, now that could work with a Hispanic candidate in and of itself, because there's a lot of worker bees there of the Latino and Hispanic origins. So that could just be your ticket right there. But you have to lift votes. That's all there is to it. You've got to spend as much money as the Democrats.
So in these kind of urban areas, the best thing we can really do is increase Republican turnout, because if we concede those areas, we're never going to be able to actually press forward and divide the Democrats' focus. They've got safe zones, and they think that they can just walk away with those. We got to put threats across the whole board, full court press, as terms of a strategy. But a lot of people don't realize how close we are to actually taking back control of the state house. The state rep races, the 14 that we need to flip, the difference between the Republican winning and the Democrat losing is only, across all 14 of those, 31,000 votes. And if we are strategic, and if we're focused, and we're willing to go out and go on offense, we can actually take back control of the state house.
Well, we definitely need to do that. We need to take the fight to the Democrats in places where they think they're safe, even if they are safe. Because when we don't have Republicans running in districts, we encourage libertarians to run, and then that's an ongoing problem, not just for the current election. But we definitely need to be having Republican candidates running for absolutely every office that's available. And we have to turn out the Republican vote, of course. That's a given. But we do need to be looking at the unaffiliated vote right now, as I've said before, and finding out now, not in October or November, but right now, which ones are leaning our way. That way we can go back and talk to them in October and November when we want their vote. So it is a matter of going out to every district and making sure we have Republicans everywhere.
I would agree with that, Craig. The question is how to increase GOP performance, and really all these questions that we've just asked are answering that same question. We have a great ground game. We have a central committee in every county. We have boots on the ground. How do we empower those boots on the ground? I think we have to go talk to the boots on the ground and ask them what they need to be empowered with. But I think as much as we need to talk to them, more than anything, we need to listen to them, because really they're the ones who have a handle on what the problem is. And so if you go listen in your communities, then you can start solving the problems.
Rebuttal.
Go ahead.
All right, 56.4% of the people in Denver lean right, 16% lean center, which means they either lean slightly left or slightly right. That's Denver County. So most people don't understand that we're already winning the game right now in the state of Colorado. 68% of the states lean right, 14% are center, either center left or center right. So we have a vast majority. President Trump's going to have to do his job, get rid of the machines and the mail-in ballots, at least the mail-in ballots by the end of the cycle in November. And if he does his job, we can do ours.
Rebuttal.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
So what was stated earlier by Mr. Altman was that we need to raise huge amounts of money. Protect Kids Colorado proved that that's untrue. We were told that we had to raise, we needed $7.5 to $8 million to get any of this stuff done. And we didn't have that. We barely had enough to get it printed. But what we did have was an army of pissed off moms, dads, aunts, uncles, grandmas, and grandpas. And we got it all on the ballot for very, very little money, because we had vision and we had the people.
Okay.
We have another rebuttal.
So we definitely need to raise money to lift votes. That's how the Democrats have been winning, and that's where we have fallen short. But I question the statistics. I hope the statistics Joe's coming up with are correct, but I do not think that we have over 50% right-leaning people in Denver. And you will see that if you get chair, how badly we get punched out.
Rebuttal.
Okay, just for the record.
Sorry, guys. Listen, I'm the largest first
last
party.
one.
Okay, I'm the largest first party data aggregator in the nation, sans Google. I have data on pretty much all of you. Thank you for showing up. I have data on you, right? And by the way, you'll notice that I just gamified this deal, and now I'm going to be the rebuttal king, so I can get more time. You're welcome. Thank you. But the idea of this is that we actually don't know, because 40% of the internet that we see on the social platforms are all bots. And because the elections have been so fraudulent and so tilted based on what they've been able to do behind the scenes, that we have no idea. I do. I can actually see it up front and personal. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, so
Thanks for stopping by.
this is a rebuttal from the moderator. The reason we're losing elections is because the Democrats are cheating.
Yes.
Thank you.
Come on. Say it louder.
All right, let's go to party governance and ethics. What reforms, plural, would you implement immediately to improve transparency, accountability, and fiscal oversight within the state party based on what this past administration has left us?
Who's up first?
I think we are,
What's cracking?
we're Jennifer, right?
I think so, yes.
Sorry, I heard accountability and missed the second two. if you
Okay,
don't
so
mind.
what reforms, plural, would you implement immediately to improve transparency, accountability, and fiscal oversight within the state party based on what the previous administration has left us?
All right, so it's simple. With respect to transparency, is you let your, not just your executive committee, but you let your SEC look at your books on a monthly basis, and those need to be reconciled. You need to make it a quick look. You can use accountability dashboards, but you need to, a good fiscal accountant will reconcile every single month, and then that is pushed out to whoever wants to see it. With respect to transparency, it's our business, right? There's going to be an element of proprietary information, but that's not with our 500 SEC members. They should be able to see what's going on all the time. So I would actually change the bylaws, if at all possible, and have them vote on them so that they had more inside information. And accountability is the dashboards will shame you.
Jeremy?
So we actually had to deal with a very similar kind of situation here in El Paso County. There were allegations of all sorts of financial impropriety and stuff, which were completely unfounded. Vicki, you were running a very transparent ship. What we need to do is have a leader that's going to actually be accountable. The state executive committee, like not even the treasurer was actually overseeing the bills that were coming out of Britta's office. That's not a violation. That's not something the reform can fix. That's a personal issue. And so you need to get somebody in there with integrity and someone in there that's going to actually be accountable. And so I would actually, I think the expansion of the availability of that information to the SEC is warranted. But if you can put all the rules you want, but if you elect someone who's not going to follow rules, you're going to get exactly the situation that we just came out of.
The bylaws actually already state that any SEC member is allowed to inspect the books. And obviously that was easier when we had an office. Without an office, regardless, we need to make it easier for the SEC members to do that in real time. So I definitely agree with that. And the other thing, based on what's happened in the last year, this would be, I guess it would just be a policy decision at the beginning, but I would like to see it to be a bylaws amendment that no debt over maybe $25,000 can be incurred without like a supermajority of the executive committee or something, because we are in a place where I don't even know how we got here with so much debt. It would have scared the heck out of me to have this much debt. And the fact that it didn't scare others, is an issue for amending the bylaws so that that's not allowed anymore.
Our bylaws do already require a quarterly report, and that's not just an FEC report. We need a quarterly accounting, and certainly the executive committee will see all that because they're having to approve the budget. But I think equally, there's no reason why the chairs of the counties can't see that those documents either. I've been talking to a lot of the chairs in the last few weeks, and all of them are in the dark. We have no idea where the money's spent. We have no idea what was going on, and so the way to bring back the transparency is to hire someone who is a leader and who recognizes that that's just part of the communication you're responsible to, and we have got to start communicating within the party. Because where we're at, the place where we're at now is because we've had no communication.
Joe?
Look, there's a ton to fix. Financially, we've got to get to a place where we get people to donate enough money that we can cover some of the debt that we have, number one. Number two, we have to make sure we're not just transparent with the CRC, but we're also transparent with the Republican Party. It's been years since I've ever gotten an email from the state party. I don't know if any of you have gotten any, but I certainly haven't gotten any told us what the health of the organization is. And so transparency is a part of the ethos of the organization. We have to make sure that as we talk about the transparency of not just the financial transparency, but the accountability of how we're out there recruiting candidates, how we're doing things inside the party in order to make sure we have lobbyist efforts at the Capitol from all 64 counties, and then we're able to get enough volunteers, but also paid staff. So this is something I addressed in my 90-day plan. It's something I also addressed in my 6-month, my 1-year plan.
Sure.
Rebuttal from Jennifer.
You can just pass the mic.
So that's good news that it's in the bylaws, but what needs to be emphasized here is that it needs to be pushed out and normalized that these 500 individuals are looking at them every single quarter.
Quick one, go ahead.
As we start talking about financial accountability, the reason why Britta was able to get away with this, if she got away with it, is because she didn't have strong leadership around her. So not only is the chair going to have to do things to make sure that they secure things that are going on in all 64 counties and have all of them be stakeholders at the table, they're also going to have strong leadership inside of the party that kind of brings in the grassroots, the establishment, everyone together, so that we're all on the same page on being mission-driven and tactical for how we achieve things not only in the party, but in getting people elected in November.
I think what this comes down to is the difference between someone that is a leader and someone that is a boss. And if you haven't had a good leader in your career, like, it's time to get one. If you've had a boss, then you know that doesn't work. And it doesn't work in a soft power context that the SEC is. And so this is going to be an all team, all hands lift to get this party back onto the track.
For this to happen, there has to have been a major disconnect between the state executive committee and the chair, and that is a huge communication issue. And so there's no reason that the executive committee should not have had the authority to rein this in. There's a communication problem.
10-second rebuttal. So if leadership is the thing you're looking for, I just want you to know that I led them down the path of doing the rebuttals that we're doing currently right now.
Nice. All right, this is going to be our last question, then we're going to go right to the lightning round. And this one's actually it's pretty important. There's a lot of politicians in the state that are pretty out of touch with some of the policies that affect Colorado, whether that's the GORP Act or how the NRCC interacts or the RNC or water bills or anything else. How are you guys going to respond if the national party takes a direction that you believe is going to hurt Colorado Republicans, and give an example of a specific action that you would take? Jeremy, you're first on this.
Well, in Pueblo, I think you saw how I would deal with an RNC direction that was put to our assembly, and that was that they ruled our desire for what do you call those?
Injunction.
An injunction, yes. Basically, they ruled our desire for an injunction out of order. And so we used parliamentary procedure and overruled their overruling, because the body gets to do what the body wants to do. The body drives this process. And the body, that's you guys. That's the SEC members, that's the assembly delegates. You guys are ultimately in control of the party. And if the chair doesn't recognize that and doesn't act in accordance with the wishes of the overwhelming majority of the party, then we've got a big problem, because then the headship is at loggerheads with the body and nothing works.
Well, the chair definitely is accountable to the body, and so the body speaks, that's it. At the same time, I think the chair is in a position to talk with the body and also to talk with the RNC, whoever might have other angles, and see if we can't resolve this in another way that doesn't have to be quite as dramatic.
Yeah, if I'm the chair, we're going to go to court as a last resort. I'm going to try and keep the conversation out of the courts. And I think just sitting down and talking, I mean, we're all Republicans, we're all conservatives, we all want to go in the same direction. And I think that a lot of this could be done away with if we just take the time to sit down and talk with one another instead of hiring lawyers.
Joe?
Well, I'm already having conversations at that level right now, but when we talk about the sovereignty of the state party and making sure that we actually are driven by the body, I just want to point something out. When it was convenient, we said it was Britta's fault. When it was inconvenient, we said that the body is the one that actually runs the show. So I think we have to be really careful when we talk about leadership and how we're actually going to go forward, that we take responsibility collectively for what the party is able to do inside the state, and that we actually work in partnership with the RNC to make sure that the things that we're doing and the mission-driven strategies that we have are well heard. And when they contradict what we're doing inside of the state, then we have to make sure that we go to the table, right? We don't wait. We don't put ourselves in a position where we're having a conversation with a single person. We make sure that we have a well-articulated argument, why we're doing it, how it's supported by the body, and make sure that we have good leadership inside of the head, including the chairman, that has the ability to then have the experience to make the decisions that are necessary. So we have to be antithetical to what they're doing. At least we have a good argument if it does come to the point where we have to litigate it.
Okay, so I say you just ignore the national party. I mean, who are they? They're not, you just defer to your resolutions. Are they really going to come after you? I don't really think so. I don't.
No, they will.
Well, you just ignore them. I mean, what can they do? These are our resolutions, and the people have spoken. So we have goals, and what is most important is that no one at the Colorado GOP is acting unilaterally, because that's where Britta gets into a whole world of problems. But she starts these problems before by suing the previous chair. So you've got resolutions. They're going to be similar to the national parties, and you just ignore them. There's really nothing that they can do about it. And otherwise, you bring your good parliamentarian in to speak to them.
Rebuttal.
Okay.
The National Committee does actually have the ability to affect us. When we saw what happened when they lost faith in Britta, she bragged about a get out the vote grant from the National Party in the amount of $10,000. Previous years, that grant had been characterized more as hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. When the National Party sees dysfunction and sees that things are not going well, they withhold funds. That's what they do. And that's going to make fundraising even more of a problem. So let's not make more trouble for ourselves.
All right, we're going to implement one more rule, and that is a maximum of 2 rebuttals.
I want to vote on it.
This is a dictatorship. No.
My rebuttals are really good, though. So I need a rebuttal.
One more, go.
Look, when we start talking about playing well with others, we have to play well with each other inside of our own environment. I think winning will actually solve a lot of our problems. So as we start winning and we win in November and we create unity towards being mission driven and create tactics that allow for us to bring people back into the party in droves, I think we'll have a lot more success. But the other part of this is that there's no reason for us to get sideways with the RNC. There's just no reason to be, because if we actually give them a plan, put it in front of them, they'll let us execute against that plan. We just haven't had a plan up to this point, and we've been operating kind of in space. Sorry. Thank you. Hey, he went over like 60.
All right, we're going to take a little breather, and we're going to go into a little fun session, which we call the lightning round. And these are quick response questions. And I do mean quick. I don't need pontificating or anything of the sort.
Hispanic tornado.
Exactly. So in one number one, we're going to start with, who's next?
I think Craig.
Craig. So we'll start with Craig. In one sentence, what is the single best grassroots tactic to lift turnout in 2026?
Get out the vote on the doors.
Curtis?
Love one another well.
Joe?
I only get one sentence?
One sentence.
Okay.
You just used it.
No, it's not. Stop. I want to vote. I think you have to do two things. One, how to get out the vote, and two, make sure that you have a social media presence that has a good articulated message.
Jennifer?
Get out the vote, and it's got to be more contemporary than it's been in the past. You have to compete.
Jeremy?
Boldly standing on our principles.
Okay.
All right. The next lightning round question. Name one specific Hispanic community leader or organization you'd partner with first, and why?
Ray.
Excellent answer. Joe?
So can I say two, because that's to be in a sentence? All right. No, because there's two. There's
You
okay.
fill up your sentence.
All right, listen. The Colorado Hispanic Republicans, obviously, right? But the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is also a great organization that does really good in the Hispanic community. That was a run-on.
Jennifer?
Mine would be the Colorado Hispanic Republicans, because they would push me out to any other organization that was well worth the effort.
Jeremy?
Again, the Colorado Hispanic Republicans.
Bunch of
Like, you guys fed me tacos. I feel Hispanic at this point.
That's 4 sentences. Rebuttal.
Craig?
Colorado Hispanic Republicans, of course. Plus, they put our pictures on a cake.
We got to eat our own face. It's a surreal moment.
All right. Next. Okay, who are we at? I forgot.
Rebuttal.
We're at
I want a rebuttal.
no rebuttals.
I want a rebuttal.
There's no.
I want everybody to know we have this recorded, so we're holding them to this. Whoever gets elected.
So you not get a rebuttal?
No rebuttals in the lightning round. Okay, next question. Who's up? Joe. All right. Joe, one metric you'll check weekly to know grassroots is working.
Number of young people they bring in each county.
Okay. Jennifer?
It's dollars per vote.
Doors knocked.
Turnout.
The emails I receive every week asking for help.
All right. Jennifer?
All right, Jennifer, you're going to be up on the next lightning round question. What's one phrase that you'll use to persuade Hispanic voters to consider a Republican candidate?
I do not know. I would have to ask the Colorado Hispanic Republicans to come up with that slogan for me.
Sí se puede.
Yeah, sí se puede.
¿Qué?
Well, it worked on me, so come to the Republicans, we have tacos.
Porque se vengan a los republicanos, tenemos tacos.
You know, I think I would mention that our party is very family founded, and because I think Hispanic people they're incredible family people, and I think I want them to know that the Republican Party shares that with them.
Okay, we're starting with Jennifer.
Did Joe answer?
I didn't get
Sorry,
an answer.
go ahead.
No, I didn't know.
Go, Joe.
Rebuttal.
Rebuttal. Go.
Come join the family.
Okay. All right, next question. Start with Jennifer.
Jeremy.
No, Jeremy. In 15 words or less, why should county chairs trust you to rebuild volunteer infrastructure and unify the GOP, Colorado GOP? Time's up.
If you know me, you already know I'm trustworthy, and you already know that I'm here to help.
18? No.
Because I've been a county chair and I've done it before.
Because I'm going to love and encourage you often.
Joe?
Because I've proven what I can do in the private sector, and I've done it in the nonprofit sector, and I'll do it again in the Republican sector. What? That was 15 words. These words don't count. This is my rebuttal.
Jennifer?
Because we're going to do this together, and I'm going to get you the goods.
All right.
This is the final question, and I don't even know the answer to this one. So, what is the legal Hispanic population of Colorado?
The what?
What is the legal Hispanic population in Colorado?
The population?
The legal.
Is this voting or non-voting?
Just the legal residents.
It doesn't mean voting. You have children that are included in that.
Right.
Come on, guys. If anybody's ever heard me talk, they know this answer.
Yes.
I think it's about 600,000 because I believe it's 20% of what I'm remembering to be 4 million voters. So 240, wait.
Okay, time.
Yeah, about 600,000.
This is my honest answer. I don't have a clue.
Joe?
What do we consider legal? No, I'm just kidding. I think it's around 1.15 million, right?
Jennifer?
Raymond, can you answer that question?
Well, of course Raymond can. He's not running.
I do not know. I'll go with the 600,000.
Jeremy?
I want to say 1.25 million,
Okay. The correct
but it is
an-
growing.
The correct answer is 1.2 million.
Joe and Jeremy.
Hey, no. He went over, and so you've seen the price of right, and you spin the wheel. I won.
Come
And,
on
and I came
down.
within 100, which means that I actually win a special prize.
Now,
More time.
now, if anybody's ever heard me say it, it is 1.25 million.
All right, we'll take your number.
And you guys cheated, and you knew what that question
They
was.
probably reproduced since then.
Although for the 600,000, the people that are legally allowed to register to vote is 670,000.
Now,
No, legally allowed to register to vote.
let me correct that. There are 1.2 million legal residents in Colorado. 600,000 are registered to vote, and only 50% of those actually vote and/or register. So that's what I was talking about earlier as the big voting block of 300,000 plus voters out there that need to be reached and need to be brought into the fold.
I think it's also worth pointing out that the evangelical churches are almost a similar sized voting bloc that are also as dismally represented. And if we can get Hispanic churches, that's a twofer.
There you go. Talk to my co-host on that.
Over this side.
All right. Let's continue with the debate question. So we're going to talk a little bit about fundraising and resources. So what is your fundraising target for the first year? And I know we're talking about the next 5-6 months because that's the critical time. But let's just say this term is running through next spring. So let's just take it from now until next spring. What would be your fundraising target for that period? And what new fundraising channels or donor segments would you pursue? New fundraising channels or donors?
I don't think I have a dollar amount in mind. I know Joe has said anywhere between 8 and 15 million. I think the more important question is how do we become credible to ask for money? And I think if we can get that done quickly, then I think the donors are there. When I was running for CD3, I still have a list of 17,000 people who gave in the 2020 election to Republican candidates. The lists are there, and that's one list. There's a lot of donors and there's a lot of money, but we have to be credible in order to get it. And I think that's the key in the early part of this is get transparent, bring back some credibility to the party, so that when we're sitting in front of a donor, we can actually respectfully ask for money.
Joe.
So I haven't thought about this at all. We'll raise about $4.7 million in the party. The rest of the money will be in IECs and PACs. We'll identify some of the 31,000 people, of which about 16,000 are people that I would call mid-level donors, and there's about 1,100 that are like main level or what we call whales that are out there. So I have a pretty good idea of how we can actually get those people to come into the party and give us money. We'll also go to the 900,000 or so Republicans, give them a plan, and as we bring independents and ethical Democrats into the fold, there'll be a small percentage of those people that'll also give. So look for by the end of the year collectively across the deal. My goal is to 15 million, but I think we'll actively hit somewhere between 11.5 and 13 million.
Okay, so my goal would be to do 2.2 million by election time, and that would be a lot of crowdsourcing and whatever medium to large donors I could get, I would do that, but the rest would have to be PACs. I have a different perception. I guess Super PACs does have a segment in there that the chair, can collaborate with, but the PACs, if I could do it in a year's time, would be 16 million would be my goal. I'm thinking that I would only get 7 million.
Jeremy.
So it's easy to throw around $1 million figures here and there. The main problem that we have is that our fundraising and the lack of money in the party is not a cause. It's a symptom. And if we don't get the cause taken care of, which is the dysfunction and the lack of trust and the lack of cohesive action and the infighting, it doesn't really matter how much money we bring in outside the party or through PACs or any of that stuff, because at that point, it doesn't matter how many doors we knock, how much dollars we raise. No one, if you invite your friends over for dinner and mom and dad have a slappy fight over the dining room table, no one's staying for dessert. And that's the problem, is we've got to get our attitude and our hearts towards each other in the party correct, and then the money will flow. But if we start setting like, oh, I'm going to raise $1 million and stuff like that, no, you're not.
I would have to agree with that. The fact that we don't have money is due to our dysfunction and constant lawsuits and fighting amongst ourselves. The big donors, they're looking for stability. So are the national organizations. The funding has dried up from that as a result of there not being stability. So that is the most important thing. I am also not going to throw out some number here, but I will strive for stability.
Is that the last one? Okay, go ahead.
Rebuttal.
back to camera one.
Can I get my rebuttal?
Go ahead.
All right. First of all, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you don't have a goal of what you're going to actually do, and if you're not out there trying to raise the money now, then when you hit the ground running on May 31st, you can't be accountable to anyone. So I think it's really important that we start creating goals and creating pro formas that are built in businesses. I have a company that does hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, right? I'm not going to take a salary. I'm going to walk into this position, and I'm going to serve for 9 months. It'll be kind of the kickstart to the 2 years after that I hope you'd give me. And after that 2 years, I'm going to go play golf, and I hope I hand this baton off and make sure we have a continuation of I got to go a little bit more. A continuation of, you're killing me. Make sure that we hand it off well to the next set of people.
So I actually got sent this question on the live stream. I actually think this is a really, really good question from people watching live right now. A lot of the different counties and areas have different bylaws, different processes, different way of doing caucuses and assembly. And I can tell you from personal experience in Weld County, it destroyed the process in getting people involved because everyone had their own rules or how things are going to go about. What are some things that you guys can do as chair that can streamline and unify this process so all counties and areas can operate the same way with the same rules so we can increase voter engagement, voter turnout, and get more people involved in the party without it being some secret, Harry Potter rule thing?
I had to go first? Is it me? All right. So it's outlined in the Legacy 64. We're going to get all the chairs and the vice chairs together and create a unified effort to where we can not only just streamline the bylaws in each county so that we actually know how people can operate and have some familiarity if somebody moves from one county to the next, but we also have to look at this from the perspective of making sure that the website and all those assets and all the money we spend on things has some sort of system that allows for it to flow down from the state all the way down to the county. So everything inside the state should have some sort of process where it's a top-down, bottom-up, and it allows for us to have a little bit of predictability to how we operate.
The way I understand it is the county bylaws are there for day-to-day operations in the county, but whatever they say, if the state's bylaws are saying something different, they supersede the county bylaws. So in that respect, I say build your own widget until you can't any longer, and then the state bylaws rule.
So there's actually quite a bit of discrepancy amongst county bylaws. The district bylaws, the House districts, Senate districts, all of that, were actually kind of reset during the reorganization meeting several years ago. That was under KBB. So basically every 10 years, those have the opportunity to be reset at the state level. So we'll be coming up on that in 2030. But the counties, there I think probably needs to be some sort of a conversation because if you try and tell the counties what to do, it's like telling Republicans, Republicans are not order takers. You put a gun on our face, we tell you, get that gun out of my face. You tell us you're going to do this, well, then we just don't want to do that. If you put up a sign that says no elephant parking, the first thing people do is grab an elephant and try and park it there. Like, that's just how we're built, which is different than Democrats.
Well, you're definitely right. Each county party has a very different way of doing things. I've experienced it firsthand with the CRACA system that I developed 14 years ago for the state party. It has to handle all the different ways that county parties do their caucus and assembly. Some counties elect their delegates to the state assembly at the precinct caucuses. Others do it at the county assembly, and there's others that do it in a mishmash of that. It is very confusing, and if we do the opt-out, we definitely have to figure that out, whether it's conversations with the counties, but we would have to have one standard across the state because we can't do anything like the opt-out with 64 different ways of doing it, or we will collapse. So it's definitely a conversation that has to be had.
Well, I like the idea of continuity, but I would hate to force that on the counties. And so I think you're going to have to live with some of the way it is already, because I don't think you're going to get these people to change. But if there is some common ground we can find by just communicating amongst the counties, that would be great. But I don't think you can reinvent the wheel here.
All right. Next question it comes in from one of our viewers on the stream, and that is regarding state GOP party headquarters. Where would you propose to locate it and why?
All right, the heart of Colorado is Colorado Springs, and so that seems fair if you're going to make the SEC show up for their meetings, quarterly meetings. I myself would do Zoom because of the hazards of having to get across state, or it might be that some people just don't drive like that. I would also propose that, and I think this is what he's got going already, that you do have one in the Denver metro area because you do want to be by the State House. So 2 offices, if at all possible. Colorado Springs and then the State House. Or the Capitol, I should call it.
So the quick answer to that is that Ken Davis, the chair of El Paso County, has graciously offered to allow the state party to co-locate with the El Paso County headquarters for free. That seems really attractive at the current state of our finances. Now, how we would then want to have additionals, plenty of the counties, especially the larger counties, already also have additional headquarters all over the place. So we do have regional facilities across the state. A direct, I think that's an aspirational goal at this point. We just need to get the finances in order and then see what the body wants to do. And the body, I would say, probably has the best idea on where we should put it.
I agree that until we have money, it's kind of academic, but once we have money, I do think we should have a state party office. It's nice to have free rent, but it also kind of looks not so good when the state party is sort of taking a free room from a county party. So I think we should have an office. I would go back towards the Denver Tech Center. I think that's in the general area of the Capitol, and it's where it was before, and it also has a lot more parking than if you have to actually go downtown.
This is the 4th candidate forum I've been to, and it takes me about 5.5 hours to get here, so I'm going to make you guys drive to Grand Junction. If you just look at where everybody's at, our current vice chair lives in Creed, our current secretary lives in Carbondale, our current treasurer lives in Grand Junction. So I don't think it really matters, but if you elect me, I'm going to move it to the Western Slope. I'm sorry.
You get no vote. I'm just kidding. I would put it right back in the DTC. One of the things I've been doing is having meetings with landlords, people that have access to buildings, and trying to get ahead of this so we can have an innovation hub. Innovation hub means this will be one of the biggest, I hate to take one of the Trumpisms, but it'll be the biggest office we've ever had in the Republican Party. But we have to invest in that, because when we bring people in that are outside stakeholders, people either from the RNC or from bigger organizations that will give us money, they have to take us seriously. So we need to make sure that the office is nice. We need to make sure that as we build out that office or that space, that it has us have that we're looking 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road, and that the people that want us to change the ethos of what's happening in the state of Colorado, that they invest in it. So we want to make sure that the people that are the big landowners that own the buildings are willing to invest in the party so that we can change some of the dysfunction that we've had across the state. So DTC, and already working on it.
Can I rebut? Jeremy and I were talking about this. We can't take free space without it meeting that $5,000 or thereabouts limit, because of it's a donation in kind. So we have to pay some of it.
Okay, so technically you're right, but see, I have lawyers, and so we make sure that the lawyers that we have that aren't getting paid by the party find ways around it to be creative, to push things out that also give us an opt-out and or renegotiation of the lease. You do have to pay CAM charges, which are going to be any taxes or fees that you have on the property, but it's super easy to get around some of these requirements that they have at the state.
Okay, final
So
rebuttal.
your plan is to bring in more lawyers,
They're my lawyers.
but then not the party lawyers.
What? No. To get advice on, listen, guys, listen. This whole idea that we go back and forth and we're getting advice on the outside and that advice somehow is going to influence or take away from the party. I want to make sure that I don't do anything illegal, so there's no liability on my side. So when you act as the county chair, you have two, or the state chair, you have two obligations. One to the office as the state chair and to oversee that organization. Also is the one that protects myself. I have a lot to lose, right? So having a lawyer that advises me on whether or not we're getting into the right environment at the state so that we're not violating any laws, I'm going to do those things. It doesn't mean that I'm using it to self-deal. It means I'm doing it to protect the party, but more often to protect myself so that I don't lose any of those assets.
I think we should just put it at the top of Mount Bierstadt. If you can't make it to the meeting, get to the top of the mountain, you're out. That which goes into this next question.
I'm in.
What would you support a change in the party bylaws that require a pledge from potential bonus members, delegates, SEC members that they must attend the meetings to be valid? Because I think one thing I think a lot of us have seen, they get elected as delegates, they get elected as SEC members or bonus members, and they just don't show up to meetings. They just don't show up ever. And then it really hurts when our party is trying to make decisions when only 30 to 40% of the body shows up, but they maintain a position. If you don't want this position and you can't show up to meetings to make the sacrifice of your time, money, and treasure to do it, we have plenty of people. I got a whole list of them who are ready to go. And those people need to relinquish those positions. So would you support that change?
I would definitely support putting that before the body, because I believe the body should be driving those types of changes.
Well, that's what a bylaw change is.
Well, exactly. And so, yeah, I would support any bylaws changes from the body, because the chair needs to facilitate the conversations with the body, and the bylaws are, they require a 2/3 majority vote. So you have to have buy-in and consensus between the body. And so if folks want to have that, or if they want to change it to candidate selection via MMA cage match,
Fully support that.
like that's like if the body wants to do that, okay. I don't really agree with that, because we've got some very nice ladies that I don't want to see get into a cage match with large dudes. This is like the body should be driving these decisions and these conversations.
Okay,
and so if the body wants to do it, absolutely.
Just to clarify, the question is, would you support that bylaw? We know it has to go through the process of bylaw changes and voting. We're just asking, do you personally, as a chairman, support that?
My belief is that as a chairman, you shouldn't know if I support the bylaws change, because it's supposed to be facilitated amongst the body. The chair actually should not even vote on a bylaws change under parliamentary procedure.
But the chairman
The
can.
chairman should be facilitating that conversation. The chair should not be shifting ideas and shifting that stuff in an overt fashion.
So President Trump would not be in his right place to ask
President Trump is the
Congress-
candidate and the president of the United States. He is not
Pre-rebuttal.
chairing the meeting.
We're not at rebuttal yet. Go.
What was the first part of the actual question? Just the wording of what
Yes.
of what the bylaw would be?
Would you support a change in the party bylaws to require a pledge from potential bonus members and SEC members to attend as feasible all official SEC meetings?
Sure, I agree with what he just said. It's not technically something like I would be pushing it at the meeting, but I would think that's a good idea. Yes.
No, because I think not everybody can make every meeting, and I think the proxy system works, and I think that I would be in favor of a percentage of the meetings needing to be attended, but I think not everybody. I mean, life happens. Not everybody can do that.
Joe?
I would absolutely support it for a lot of reasons. One of which is you got to have accountability, and you have to have people that are engaged in the process. And if they're not showing up for meetings and they're not reviewing notes and going through the things that are necessary and hearing some of the arguments inside of the body, then they're actually doing it a disservice and not They're not contributing what they signed up to contribute to begin with. Now, whether or not you can vote on it or not is irrelevant. Making sure that you have a functioning organization that allows for accountability to carry through the entire process, I think is even more, it's paramount. So absolutely 100%. And I think proxies are dangerous, just so you know, because they don't allow for arguments that are told at the time to be considered or incorporated in the final vote.
Jennifer.
So Donald Trump wouldn't like me because I'm going to say I think that you need accessibility to people who are like on the western slope or people who don't drive that well. With gas, geez, what are we looking at? $6 a gallon perhaps before the whole Iran conflict is over?
No
So
filibustering, please.
I support it if you allow Zoom, and you need that for the up and coming generation. So you want to recruit people? You can't act like you're back in 1990.
Rebuttal.
One rebuttal, go.
Our bylaws already actually have a solution for this problem. It's basically subsection H of, I believe, Article 7, and that is business by written means. And what that allows is us to take the voting aspect off of Zoom, which has been the huge problem, and put that onto a written process where, so we can have the forums and discussion and all of the, the important conversation, but then the actual execution is then handled via written means where we collect signatures and verify those signatures through a more rigorous process. And so the bylaws, if you bother to read them, already have a solution for this.
Okay, final rebuttal.
Okay, so just so you know, you can also centralize and create operations. We have enough technology that we can use that, but we can also create the same type of environment like we're sitting in here right now in 8 or 10 different churches or places around the state, and have those centralized and have the votes counted there, and then have those feed up into a Zoom system. So we have the technology available, and we have the ability to create a solution. Like what we saw at the assembly, we just didn't plan it out very well. So if we are able to create that environment where people don't have to drive 5 hours and they still have the ability to vote, and they vote in person, they can still contribute and be a part of the process, then I would favor that.
Real quick. So, can I ask you guys, it's now 8:30. This has been by far the best debate or forum that I've been to. So do you guys want to continue this, or do we want to pull it to an end?
One more.
So can I see a hands of who wants to continue? And who wants to end it? We have one more question. All right, sounds like we're going to have one more question.
We defer to the body.
I don't know if that's relevant. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about volunteer and management and training. So where are we at? Last question. Correct. This is your last question, and we'll go into closing statements, which you'll get 2 minutes for. Okay. What specific training and leadership development programs will you create to turn volunteers into long-term field organizers?
Well, we start by getting them engaged. Again, I go back to get out the vote. We've done that so many times in Douglas County, and it's a matter of knowing how to work with volunteers. They can't be ordered. They need to be inspired and led, and they enjoy doing the work when you have someone that's not scolding them. So you want to be encouraging. In terms of how to turn that into, what was that? What was the last part of that?
Long-term
field operations. Well, I think that just becomes part of what you do. When you get better at it, as time goes on, you're going to take the next step, and you'll become the trainer of the next generation.
I think building a team is crucial, and I think we've actually got some of that going on in the party now. And I think what we should do is look at what works in certain parts of the state and see if we can't move some of that stuff to places that have needs. And so I think we have such a great infrastructure with the boots that we have on the ground now, and I think training volunteers is crucial. I think building a team is crucial, And so what I would do is I would look across the state and see what's working, where it's working, and try and model that other places.
Joe?
So I think we have to organize a bunch of young people across the state. And I think one of the things that we have to start looking at is how you empower people to have purpose. So you can inspire people to do things, but you have to give them the right tools in order to make sure they can be effective. And you have to mentor them into an environment that they don't wear scarlet letters. We saw this happen on the East Coast with the Signal Chat with the Young Republicans, where every single one of those young men and women left the party as a result of being scorned by upper leadership. So we have to teach them how to rub some dirt in it, give them the environment to let them know that we are going to be loyal to them, we're going to defend them, and when they do something wrong, we put them back in the game, tell them to rub some dirt in it, get back in the game, and that will inspire them to have confidence to stay and to do more things and to bring the next group of people up behind them. So it takes a lot of leadership. I can't tell you what I want to say in 10 seconds. I'll pick it up in rebuttal.
Go. Jennifer?
So they need a sense of belongingness, and invite them back, invite them to events, and also incentivize them. But flatten the hierarchy. That's already been said. People don't like being told what to do. So you empower them so that they are not working below you, they are working alongside you.
So growing up a pastor's kid, we always did volunteer groups and volunteers throughout our youth programs and all of that kind of stuff. And I learned a couple of things. One, if you feed them, they will come. This is practical leadership, practical ministry. But
Tacos.
Tacos, yes. But also, with especially young people, if you give them a T-shirt, they will take a bullet because you've given them a sense of identity and a sense of belonging. And so what we need to do is not be standing up volunteer organizations every other year. We need to maintain cohesive actions throughout the election cycle. Folks need to be not just told to like knock doors, but they need to be told to stand up and show up at the Senate committee hearings and be testifying and talking to their neighbors year round. We keep telling people to take a break for a year. Well, when you break a habit for a year, it's kind of hard to start it up again.
Okay, thank you.
Point of order. Sorry, guys. I had one question that I wanted answered tonight, and they kind of skipped it over. So I'm going to extend this one more question so we can get one more question in. Is that all right?
You took the words out of my mouth.
I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Okay. Emergency session. We have one final question.
Oh, this is the question you texted me. Okay, got it. All right, with all the lawsuits going on against the GOP, specifically Britta and her personal lawyer, Glenda, what are you going to do about it when you become chair?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is we have to look at what was approved by the executive committee. We need to find out if the invoices that we have really belong to us. And after that, we'll have to deal with them, and it'll take legal counsel to figure that out. And yeah, I mean, we're stuck with what we're stuck with, and we're going to have to figure out what we actually legitimately owe.
Joe?
I think Eric Grossman is doing a good job of getting us ahead of this problem so that when we get in there, we'll know what's legitimate, what isn't legitimate. They also have attorneys that are looking into the legitimacy of those claims and making sure that if there's any misconduct that's attached to it, that is actually being brought up through the system. So he's ahead of that. But the second that May 30th, right after the vote, when I'm in, the first phone call I'm going to make is going to be to the lawyers and to Clinda's to make sure that we can just try to resolve this. So it's always better to do that rather than getting to long extended legal battles. And frankly, I was a negotiator for 6.5 years in the Middle East and Africa, and everyone says you can't do it. And I promise you we'll get to a resolution very quickly because we've got to get to the stuff that is important to the party itself, and that's not focusing in on what happened in the rearview mirror. We got to focus in on more what's happening in the future.
Jennifer?
So I agree that Eric has got a head start here. So he's hired some lawyers, and then that'll even see if these lawsuits are something that are even valid. And if they are valid, then I think you do need to hire a second set of lawyers to make sure that that first didn't overlook something, and you do try to get out of the fact that you owe $231,000, however you can. Also, I think that needs to be looked at, I've never had the answer of, do we have director's insurance, and will that cover some of the lawyer fees? So that's how you would go about it, but yeah, I'm sorry, but I think you have to lawyer up.
Jeremy?
Eric Grossman has my full faith and support in how he's handling things at this moment. I'm only a bonus member, so this is some supposition. But I was there September 27th, 2025, when we fired Mr. Klenda as the body. Any bill after that, in my opinion, amounts to fraud. And I think we need to be dealing with this in as strong a fashion as we legally can.
Craig?
Well, we absolutely don't pay money we don't owe, but as everybody has said, Eric is working on it, as is Tom Bjorklund on the finance side, to make sure those bills that need to get paid, that actually can and need to get paid, while holding the other stuff at bay. I think there's going to be a lot, to be honest, we're going to find out when one of us gets elected what the complete situation is. I don't think any of us know all the information, so we'll just have to play that by ear.
All right.
And if that doesn't work, there's always cement slippers.
You're out of order, sir.
I'm sorry. There's no water here, so that'd be hard.
Okay. All right. We have concluded.
You guys did not laugh at all. That's really, that was funny. It's a little dark.
We have concluded the questions for the candidates. We're going to go into final statements, and we'll start from Mr. Curtis and go in reverse order. So in this final statement, I would like you to include a comment about whether you intend to serve beyond the current unexpired term. In other words, will you be running for re-election next spring? Go. 2 minutes.
Well, that's a good question. I think the good thing about this term is you guys get to try on the shoe and see if it fits, and so do we. And so I would look forward to that if I've been successful in the 9 months. And I think that's really up to the SEC to decide. But yeah, I think I would if things were going well. I think leadership is not everything, but it's a lot. And I think leadership is really taking information in, processing that information, and deciding where that information gets used. And I've run small businesses all my life, and there's some things that come into my office, and I just don't. They just don't need priority. There's other things that come into my office that need immediate priority. And I think one of the things about leadership is realizing what really is important to deal with right this second, and what really can kind of wait. The other thing I think leadership is it's getting people engaged with the vision that you have and the direction that you're going, and getting as many people involved in understanding that and moving the ball forward. And I think that's where team building comes in. I think you got to have a real cohesive group to get anything done. And I don't see that we've had a cohesive group here for a long time. And so I think leadership is bringing people with you, getting them to understand what the vision is. And I think that's going to solve a lot of our problems. And again, I think making ourselves credible and getting in front of some donors very, very quickly is key.
To answer the question, if my presence is being helpful for the party, then I would run again. I've been a county party chairman. I've led volunteer GOTV efforts. I've actually created GOTV systems. As a secretary, I've run caucus. I've actually written the caucus system for the state party. I have experience with the volunteers, and I have the contacts that have told me that if the party is stable, they are interested in bringing large amounts of money back to the party. So I would ask for your vote. I've done this before at the county level. I think I can help do it at the state level, and I would appreciate your vote. Craig Steiner.
take his time.
So, folks, tonight you've heard a lot of different visions for the state party. So, my name is Jeremy Goodall, and I am asking for your vote. In terms of would I run for a second term, I believe that it would be necessary for any of us to do so because the state Central Committee has not had the chance to pass judgment on a chair since Dick Wadhams. That's 2011. We've had one term, and people have not sought re-election. We need some sort of continuity. And I believe that what we need to do for our state is to stand on our vision, to boldly stand on our vision, principles, and platform. Our vision for a safe, prosperous, and sane Colorado. Our principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in one nation under God. We must unite in support of the platform that defines our party. We must remember who we are as Republicans, because otherwise we cannot remind the voters of Colorado what we stand for if we ourselves don't know. We are the party that ended slavery. We are the party that ended the Cold War and the global threat of communism. And even now, we are the party that is dragging fraud, kicking and screaming out of the DC swamp and into the cold light of day. There is a lot of talk that we are a divided party. Let me ask you here, show of hands. Who is proud to be Republican? That's a lot of hands. Who here is willing to follow the orders of our president, Donald J. Trump, to fight for Colorado? Good. I'm seeing a lot of hands. I'm seeing a lot of people that are working together. And that didn't take millions of dollars. That took one man pointing out the pathway to integrity. So I'm Jeremy Goodall, and I'm asking for your vote as the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party.
All right, fellow Republicans, we had a fun debate tonight, and we did talk about a lot of issues, but we cannot lose sight of how important this gubernatorial race is. We have exactly 6 months to get out the vote and fundraise, 6 months, or we are looking at another 8 years of progressive Democrats. We can't mess this up. So the fundraising has to be what you've never seen before, like Donald Trump, bigger than anything you've ever seen. It's got to be competitive with what the Democrats have done probably since, I'm gonna say 2018, that's when the big four comes into play. And we get Jared Polis in the House. If we don't, what are we looking at? We're looking at our children's schools who are teaching an ideology that most, I'm going to say 95% of the population does not agree with. We're looking at unaffordable housing. We're looking at energy and green mandates that don't even consider a clean burning fuel. So this is coming up against we shut down schools because it's too windy these days. I mean, it's all a joke, and it's the Democrats' ideology that's put us here. So, would I run again? Of course, we're a joke that we can't get a chair through 2 years without it falling apart. We need a chair that runs not just once, twice, maybe 3 times. We need that institutional knowledge. So I'm ready to lead the fight. I'm asking for your support. We need to win, and we need to win together. And I want to thank you for this evening's opportunity, and I want to ask God to bless the great state of Colorado.
So I'll give you the 2-year, 9-month prison sentence. No, it's not really a prison sentence, but leadership is difficult, and the reason why people haven't done it after the 2 years is that it tends to wear on you. You have a lot of different personalities that go through the party itself, and people tend to pick sides. And so in running a large organization, I recognize that you have people on both sides of the political aisle. This at least is on the same side of the aisle, which you could argue is actually harder than having people from both sides of the aisle. But I think it's important that we start looking at the party from a structural standpoint. So after the 9 months, It'll take 2 years to put it into a place where we have continuity of being able to hand off the organization. That's also something that has been pretty tenuous. In other words, we haven't been able to hand off the organization. We've done everything we can to block the incoming organization or incoming chair from having success. And we should all want the success for the party and the people that are running it. And one of the reasons why we've had the problems inside the party up until this point is because we haven't had a plan. So the first 9 months is kind of a test to what needs to be done or what you can see that I'm willing to. You okay? I thought you want to listen to me. All right, this is really important stuff. So that'll be a kind of a test drive to the 2 years, after the 2 years or during the 2 years, making sure that we have proper infrastructure, making sure that it's prepared to hand it off to the next individual. And I'll do all of that, by the way, without taking a salary. And I want to point out one really important thing. People who have money give people who have money. Who have money give people money who have money. And so one of the things that I'm going to do is make sure that we're able to raise enough money that we have stability inside the party that will allow us to do things to recruit young people and to make sure that we have proper infrastructure so that the different 64 counties are as healthy as the state party should be. So Joe Oltman for chair 2026. Go to oltman2026.com, or you can visit Facebook or one of the socials. And I put a 6-minute video up today, which was kind of cool. All right, thanks.
All right, that concludes our debate. We want to thank all the candidates. Now you can applaud. I said now you can applaud.
They didn't hear you because they were applauding.
Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight. I believe we got some good information for all the voters out there. We got a little insight into each of the candidates, and I believe that it's going to be a good race coming up on June the 30th. I'm sorry, May the 30th.
May 30th.
Well, there's another debate too for just SEC members, right? And that coming up the 19th.
I think it's the 19th.
19th.
18th.
Monday the 18th. I don't keep my own calendar.
Monday the 18th.
All right, I guess we're going to let the chairman of the Colorado Hispanic Republicans give his closing statement to the audience before we close out here.
All right, well, thank you everybody for coming, all the candidates. I'd like to thank all you guys for coming. I hope it wasn't too long for you. We ran kind of late, but was this the best forum you've had yet? Yes. Did you enjoy the food? So let me tell you, none of this is free. We put it on. We very much appreciate if you guys can donate anything, or if you'd like, you can go online to coloradohispanicrepublicans.org. Please join, be a member. Everybody can join. I like to tell people when they say, well, I'm not Hispanic, I'm like, do you like tacos? You're Hispanic. That's all we need. So please join. Help us out, guys. So that's what I'm getting at. Give me a second. So since we are in a Democrat-controlled state, we're going to have a straw poll, but we're going to do it in a Democrat kind of a way. So in the back of the room, you're going to have little buckets like this. Each one has the name of the candidate, and they're all in the order that they're sitting there. You'll see them in the back on the wooden table there. You can put in $1 and vote for your candidate that you think won the debate. Now, if you want to vote 20 times, you put in $20 for any candidate you want. Now, the money is going to the Colorado Hispanic Republicans. It's not going to the candidates. So this is for us. And Joe, you can put $10,000 in there and get 10,000 votes. I don't mind. So by all means. So, all right. I think that's it. We got coloradohispanicrepublicans.org. Join. Got the thing. Yeah, I think we got everything. So, food. I have a lot of food downstairs. If you guys can, take some with you, please. I don't want to take it home. So please come down and get all the food. I have clam packs. You can take it with you. And thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, shoot. We didn't even thank Adam and Hugo for putting this on. They did an amazing job, you guys.
Well, and for everybody out there watching, thank you for watching the live stream. We'll post the
Good. I'm
results
glad you like
of the live stream
Yes, I did. That's
straw
my own
poll.
husband.
We will post them into the chat. For all of you who joined us, thank you so much. That was probably the longest, most informative forum I've had. Thank you for joining us in the live stream. The Colorado Hispanic Republicans will post the results of the straw poll in the comments section when they're done. But for now, thank you guys so much for coming, and have a good night. That worked really well.
I'm Ronnie Nelson.
Nice to meet you, Rodney.
Ronnie.
Ronnie. Nice to meet you, Ronnie Nelson.
Nice to meet you too. Good job tonight.
Thank you. I am so excited that worked.
Oh, good. Make sure you hit save.
That's what I'm doing. So I'm doing it right now. That actually worked.
I have to be home by 11.
Go ahead. Just go ahead.
Are you sure? I feel bad making you
I'm
take
staying down.
Okay.
I'm staying really right up the road. So
Okay. Peace.
do it.